Men, build your life on the rock. Hi, I'm Mike Mason. This is the Immortal Combat Podcast. The Immortal Combat Podcast is the podcast arm of Very Christie. Very Christie is a Catholic lay apostolate devoted to help men attain the full stature of Christ by growing strong in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to learn more about our work, check us out. You can check us out online at verychristie.com and stjoesociety.org. All right, good Friday to all of you gentlemen. I hope this podcast is finding you as well as we're in the midst here of Advent and your family's preparation for the upcoming Christmas. This week and next week, I want to do a reflection upon Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 and 26 to wrap up 2025, at least with our Friday podcast episodes. We still have all our Monday ones as usual. I won't put one out on Friday the 26th because I will be traveling, visiting family. I know many of you are as well. So I figured we'll wrap up with a reflection on building our house upon the rock and then meet up again on these Friday podcasts starting back again in January. So our other typical Monday episodes will be released like usual, but we'll take a break from the Friday ones. All right. So the passage I want to reflect upon this week and next, Matthew chapter 7, 24 through 26 says this: "Everyone then who hears the words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house upon the sand." All right, I have a few thoughts to pass on to you guys as you head into your weekend. First, Jesus Christ is the only true and sure foundation. Men, if we attempt to build our lives on anything else other than Jesus Christ and the church which he established, his mystical body, the Catholic Church, okay, we are building our lives on sand. Every single one of us, no matter what stage of life we're in. And we have guys listening to this podcast who are in older than myself, middle-aged like myself, or even young men listen to this. Listen, life sometimes is going to beat us down. The storm clouds are going to roll in. It's going to rain sometimes. The floodwaters are going to rise. If we do not build our lives on a sure foundation, we will be swept away. Jesus Christ is the only sure foundation, okay? Now, it's easy to say that. Why is it so difficult to apply, especially for young men? First of all, we live in a very, very secular culture, okay? Charles Taylor, when he wrote his book called The Secular Age, very long tome. But one of the things he mentions in the book is one of the hallmarks of being secular is that all views are contested and contestable, okay? So it's not like there's not religious options in secular cultures. A lot of people think secularism means religion's thrown out. Well, we live in a very secular culture, but religion still has a lot of cachet in our culture, if you think about it. What he argues is the hallmark of a secular culture is that everything's contested and contestable. That means what it means by that is that there's nothing given. Okay. So it's not like I'm Catholic because my family was, I do this job because this is in my family, I stay in this place because it's where I'm from. The sheer amount of options that everyone has, and the options are presented to us as if they're equal in some sense, that's the challenge. And maybe this is just a middle-aged guy going, sometimes having a bunch of choices can be a little bit debilitating, okay? The fact that everything can be contested means that people feel like they're swaying in the wind. The sheer amount of options we have is a major challenge, whether you're in my stage of life or young guys, especially for young guys, okay? Now, when guys are choosing how to build their lives, how should they choose? This leads to my third reflection with this. Men, we need to challenge young men, and then we ourselves need to live up to this, that we are basing the choice on what we're going to build our lives on. We're going to be basing our foundation on truth rather than taste, okay? It is supremely unmanly for a guy to build his life on his likes and dislikes based on his emotions and appetites. This is extremely unmanly. It's childish. It's effeminate. A true man builds his life on that which is true. We should be devoted to Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church because it's true, not because we like it. That's not a reason to be devoted to it. That's not a good reason to be devoted to anything. Too many men today make decisions like they're 12-year-old boys. No offense to any 12-year-old boys who are listening, but at least you have an excuse. You build your life on what is true. Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through me. The claims of Christianity generally and the Catholic Church particularly are true. That's why we need to be devoted and build our lives on it. Fourth observation before I get to an application for y'all. When I say that it's true, okay, I mean objectively true. Not true for me, not because it lines up with, the way I was raised. It was that it's objectively true. Jesus Christ was a real person. Jesus Christ was really crucified by the Romans, and he really rose from the dead bodily and ascended into heaven. He's seated at the right hand of the Father, and he will come again to judge the living and the dead. Every single one of us will stand before the judgment seat of Christ and give an account of our lives to him. That is the truth we need to stand on. Furthermore, Jesus Christ established the Catholic Church, his mystical body. I know we're in a tough period of history, in church history. Every period of church history is tough in certain ways, but we're up against some difficult challenges in our time and age. True, very unique ones. Now more than ever, we need to build our lives on the truth, which is Christ and his church. And we not only need to build it personally, we need to invite men in our communities to build their lives on it as well. We need to challenge the young men in our families and the young men in our lives, maybe you coach, that they should build their life on Jesus Christ. And of course, that's true for the women too. Okay. We need to build our lives on Christ. Now, how should we build a foundation that'll last? At the foundation of a man's life, okay, the mission of Viri Christi and St. Joe Society is to build men who honor God and live noble lives as we attain the full stature of Christ. Okay. Catholic men today need to devote themselves wholeheartedly to living lives of virtue and holiness as an offering to Jesus Christ, our Lord. That is what our apostolate's about. Okay, we in St. Joe Society, we partner with parish priests to raise disciples of the men in their parishes. With Viri Christi, we partner with laymen to raise disciples of young men in their parishes, in their communities, Catholic schools, homeschool co-ops, and so forth. We need to build a generation of men who are wholeheartedly devoted to our Lord Jesus Christ, who are building their lives on the foundation that is Christ and aspiring to become holy. Okay. Now I have 3 suggestions on how to start doing this. Okay. And then we're going to wrap up. Okay. 3 suggestions. There's lots of things to be said on this. This is not the only 3 to do, but just 3 things to give you guys some food for thought as you go into your weekend. First, as you're building your foundation, fulfill the obligations of your state in life. Okay. What do I mean by this? The foundation, which is Christ, you have to trust that in God's providence, he placed you at a certain place at a certain time and put certain tasks in front of you. We sometimes, I think when you say I have to build my foundation on Christ, guys, their imagination starts running like crazy on what this would practically look like. The first thing it'll look like is fulfill the obligations of your state in life. If you're a young man and you're a student and you're on the basketball team and you have friends and you have your mom and dad at home and some siblings, you need to fulfill the obligations of being a student, a basketball player, a son, and a brother. For those of you older guys, maybe there's some guys in here that are married without children. Are you becoming the Christ-like husband God's calling you to be? Are you fulfilling your obligations at your workplace? Okay. For those of us who have children, are we meeting the obligations of being Christ-like husbands and fathers? If we have some leadership roles in our business place or in our communities, are we meeting those expectations? Too many men overlook the expectations as if you need to go find other types of crosses. Embrace the cross your state in life. That's how you can start building a firm foundation. Return to the first things. Okay. Return to being faithful to the place God placed you. Second, men, we need leaders badly in the church. The church needs good, godly men who are leaders. Businesses do. Our communities do. Our schools do. If God's put you in a position of leadership, no matter how big or how small, lead those people under your charge heroically. Okay. Be a good example in word and in deed of what a Christ-like man is. Men, we do not need to be passive right now. Okay. We need to be representing Christ in our communities, our parishes, and our workplaces. And when God puts people under your charge, lead them well. They need you. Okay. If God puts you in that position, he'll give you the graces to live up to it. Okay. So trust him and get moving. Last thought, and then we're going to cut off for this week. Keep the rule of life. I know I say this at the end of a lot of podcasts. Fellas, it took me, I started working on that rule of life, back in 2017. Okay. I tested it on myself for a long period of time. I know it's a simple rule of life. That's part of the genius of it. Okay. The rule of life is there for you to have a foundation of spiritual disciplines. It's a foundation. It's not a ceiling. Some guys look at it and they're like, well, these seem pretty easy. Good. Sweet. Keep this foundation. Do it with the brothers you have in your parish. Okay. Stand firm on that foundation. Add devotions. Add workouts. Study more than we require. Add liturgy hours. Go to mass. Awesome. Okay. If it's not difficult for you to do that, sweet. It's there as a foundation. Let's say it's a challenge to meet all the requirements of it. Awesome. Gives you something to strive after. It is something that through practice, it can become your foundation. Once it is, God can have you take off in other directions he wants to lead you. Okay. The rule of life is there as a foundation. So if you have that foundation laid, keep the rule. If it still feels like a ceiling a little bit, that's okay too. Keep the rule to the best of your ability. If you fall short, learn from it, get better at it tomorrow. Okay. So keep the rule. All right. We're at the 12-minute mark, so I'm going to sign off there. Next week, we're going to circle back to this, and we will discuss the second part, okay, on how to build a life with Christ as a firm foundation. I have a couple other comments to say on that as well, but that's good enough for 1 week. I hope you guys are having a blessed Advent. Hope the preparation for Christmas is going well. We'll have one more Friday podcast next week, and then we'll wrap up for 2025 and pick up in 2026. So God bless, fellas. Talk to you soon.